Hello, hello, my name is Samuel Ray, also known as Dr. Sam, and this is Art of Rally. So, in this video, when I was recording, I don't even know what's up. I've been fighting with this PS4 using my Audio-Technica microphone plugged into it. It's been a little weird. So, apparently I had the volume way down, even though before that it didn't seem like adjusting the volume affected the microphone at all. So, here we are. For this, you're going to get a recorded narration for the entire video. So, I am going to leave the occasional dead zone, but I'm going to try to yap as much as I can through this recording. And the main reason why I didn't want to just scrap this footage is because, well, in this game, Art of Rally, I'm trying to attempt every week, and aim for top 50% in a weekly. Not easy to do at all. I generally float around 75 to 85%, like the top 75 to 85%. I'm trying to narrow it down to 50%. And, you know, since it's a weekly, you don't know what stages or car you're going to get until you begin. Obviously, everybody attempts the same set of stages in the same car. However, you know, it's all about that adaptation. And I guess, to an extent, familiarity with each of the cars and as many of the stages offered in the game as possible. Although I do believe every single stage can be assigned to you in reverse as well. Or at least a good chunk of them seem to have reversed options as marked by an R at the end. So in this one I was running I believe it was a rear wheel drive car. I am recording this narration a decent bit of time after the recording, but you can tell from the slide there that it is a rear wheel drive, and the back and forth that I had there. Yeah, it was a bit tough. This was a powerful rear wheel drive car, a lot of torque, not too much torque like one of the other videos, but it still was a bit of a difficult amount from someone like me who's a bit newer to the game to control. As you can see, I was also trying to drive in manual, I believe? No. Well, it's hard to tell, honestly. The game does sometimes hit that rev limiter and let you hold on to it, but no, this was automatic. Okay. So I've kind of decided just to run the game on default settings for everything, for the camera and for the controls. And there was a close scrape with a boulder. Like I said, this thing was a bit hard to control. And I'm surprised I didn't take a penalty on that cut. Usually when I do a big cut like that, I'll end up getting reset and taking a 5-second penalty. Even though going off the course does lead into quite a bit of a speed decrease, and in some cases control loss as well, as I'm sure you will see later in the video. I was doing a little decent with this, getting some good drifts here and there, but control was just something I was wrestling with the whole time. I am personally not the biggest fan of high power rear wheel drive cars. It's a little touchy. It's definitely better for drifting if that's what you want to do, but like, this is rally. Consistency and control are key. And I think if you're driving on things like dirt and gravel and snow and rainy ground, whether that be tarmac or the above mentioned dirt and gravel, rear wheel drive really is not optimal in the slightest. It's just not. I would go all-wheel drive as much as possible, and I do believe that is why all-wheel drive has become the standard for the World Rally Championship, especially the WRC1 class, the top tier class. I do believe the lower classes like the WRC3 can have front-wheel drive. I don't think anyone uses rear-wheel drive in any kind of modern rally, but this game is based off of an alternate reality of our world in which the Group B rally was never canceled. Although here, you're kind of starting to see why, because I am just spinning and just latching onto that picket fence on both sides. Oof. And there's a reason why I titled this video The Spin Doctor Returns, or Return of the Spin Doctor, because holy crap am I spinning a lot. Just look at that. Half spins, full spins, pinballing in from one wall into another, or fence in this case. It was rough. Went wide on that drift. Just the entry was too steep. It's crazy. High-powered rear-wheel drive is a real pain to control, and you can see it in full effect here. And I'm kind of glad that I'm recording a narration in hindsight, because I do remember I was extremely frustrated while attempting this. Uh, I was I wasn't like crashing out or anything, but man, I was ranting a little bit and kind of griping on being given a high torque rear wheel drive car on like pretty much no tarmac. Like if you're driving on tarmac and asphalt, yes, rear wheel drive is great. It's great when you're driving on predictable road conditions, predictable and optimal. But in any other situation, rear wheel drive is just suboptimal. If you've got so much as rain, then rear wheel drive becomes less optimal than front wheel or all wheel. So, yeah, it was pretty tough. It was pretty rough. So this is, I believe, a reversed stage. The weekly rallies are usually, or as far as I can tell, always comprised of 4 stages. 2 of them, then a repair stop in the middle, and then 2 more. So on the second one, you can tell right out the gates that I'm trying to race with more control, and that was a big cut. I remember I was frustrated with that because I didn't think I was doing too big of a cut. But it reset me and penalized me 5 seconds. But what I was saying was, you can tell in this stage that I was trying to race with more control. I was going lighter on the throttle so that I could try to maintain more just stability in my steering rather than focusing on speed. And then there, I got excited because I'm like, oh yes, it's tarmac. And then I go up on 2 wheels on the right side. And then, of course, the camera from the player camera, I couldn't see what turns were coming. And I remember rambling a little bit about how the whole point of the pulled back camera in this game is so that you can see the turns that are coming up, and you don't need a co-driver to give you pace notes to call out the next turns. Because in real rally, you always have a co-driver with you running your pace notes verbally to you to cue you on what's coming up next. Art of Rally has no voicing whatsoever. They go for very cool vibes with the constant playing music that goes through all the menus, and it never stops until the song is over and it goes to the next one, giving you this interesting uninterrupted flow feeling. But it's, what is it, like synthwave music? Very retro, which is fitting with the Group B vibes. But I remember I was frustrated that the tarmac portion, which rear-wheel drive is made for, was so short, and it was comprised of houses that I couldn't see around. And so I wasn't even able to take advantage of it. The fact that the rear wheel is made for that kind of terrain. Yeah, like I said earlier, this whole weekly was just not my day. Basically, it just was not for me. And it was a struggle the whole time. If I go too hard on the throttle, then I have no control. And then I'm trying to go lighter on the throttle, and that part was the only part I could go flat out in this whole stage. Mostly straight with 2 jumps. That was the most fun part of this stage. The rest of it was me trying to just wrestle control in this car without pushing it too hard. And, I did a little better, but it still wasn't a whole lot. It was very rough, very, very rough. So then we get to the repair stop, and we get to see in just a second what type of repairs, what type of damage I had taken. And so, as you can see, the engine took some damage from one of the impacts earlier, and then I was just able to clean the car. And so this one, if I remember correctly, was not very long of a stage. I got lost control of the rear there, and I was trying to go wide so I could cut through the apex properly, and boy, I lost control and just went off stage, off road. Here I was trying to push it a little harder. I remember I said, okay, last stage I was trying for control, now let's push it just a little harder so I can get a little bit more speed out of this engine without completely losing control. And for the most part, I was doing a decent bit better. Just a little less swervy and a little more power. Like there, I was able to put power into a couple of light drifts. And so I was trying to go lighter on the throttle into the turns, and then put the power down into the exits. And I am doing a lot better for the most part. There I cut just a little bit too wide, even though I was going straight towards a boulder, which would have halted my movement entirely and probably costed me more than 5 seconds. But they wanted to reset me and give me the 5-second penalty anyway. So I'm not sure where exactly the thresholds are for that reset, but they are clearly on a binary system where you just have boundaries, and as soon as you go outside that boundary, you are reset. So no real wiggle room like in the real life rally where, you know, you have to have the officiators calling it. And it was a very short stage, so now we're going to move on to stage 4, which is pretty much medium length. Only one that was longer than it was stage 1. And this one is the piece de resistance in more ways than one. All the worst ways, I guess you could say. So, to wrap up, me being the spin doctor and just struggling to control this powerful rear-wheel drive car, I get to race on a track that is gravel and rain. It was so rough. If you thought I had problems controlling this thing before, make the ground wet and remove half of my traction, and it just gets worse. I was, again, not crashing out, but I got about as close as I've gotten in this game. Maybe not the closest I've gotten, but man, was it frustrating. The whole time I felt like I was just on the struggle bus, just couldn't take any turns right, just half spinning all over the place. It was a an ordeal, to say the least. Yeah, and so many winding turns, I never really got to open it up and go full throttle. I got some air there, and then that was about it. That was probably the most fun part, was the straight leading up to the jump, and then from there, I'm just sliding and spinning. This truly was not my weekly. Like, I seriously need one in which I can drive all-wheel. I need one where the car is an all-wheel drive, and then I can really just let loose and go crazy. Push it as hard as possible. Go flat out. But all-wheel drive cars are the... there's another spin. All-wheel drive cars are the minority in this game. You only get all-wheel drive in the top two groups, if I remember correctly. Group B and Group S. Maybe there might be some in Group A as well, but regardless, only a portion of the top 2 or 3 classes of cars are all-wheel drive. The vast majority are rear-wheel, and I think I've only seen one for front-wheel drive in the whole game, and it was essentially this game's XP of a Mini Cooper. So, like, yeah, there's hardly any front-wheel drive to be seen thus far. Now, there's a lot of cars I haven't unlocked, so maybe there is some in there, but I doubt it, honestly. The focus seems to be rear-wheel drive, with a smattering of all-wheel drive in there. So, yeah, it was tough. This was not a very well-suited weekly for me, personally. So we're going to check how I performed, because what I do is I run the weekly just before the reset, the end of the time period for it, to see how I measure up against everyone else who attempted it, and the result will not change after the recording. So I got top 80%, which is okay considering my past performances have floated mostly around that. I think the best I've gotten was somewhere around 75 or 76%, but yeah, this was not the weekly for me. But you know, it's how it goes, right? Every step, you gotta take it one at a time, and it's all experience to go under the belt and help you to refine your skill set. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Instead of being too frustrated for very long, I just said, okay, you know what? Take the L and take the experience. And I decided I would try to run more rear-wheel drive cars in career mode to try and shore up my skill set using rear-wheel and its particular idiosyncrasies. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the end of it for me for this video. So if you enjoy Art of Rally, or rally in general, or motorsport gaming content, then make sure you do all that good YouTube stuff, like and follow. At this point in my video's life and growth, that's the things you can do that would help me the most. So if you want to support, then just hit those buttons. It costs you nothing and takes just a second to do, and I appreciate it immensely for getting to the end of the video and for doing those things. And yeah, just give me some feedback. Let me know what you think about this format, me doing narration over the footage rather than real-time comments. Do you prefer this? Do you prefer to hear my thoughts in real time? I do feel like when I do it in real time, I don't get into as much of deep thoughts and like well-articulated thoughts. It's a lot more off the cuff. I think with narration, I can be... I can keep my brain's mental power open for talking, and it means that I can speak with a bit more substance. Or at least that's what I think. So let me know in the comments if you like this more, or if you like the more traditional real-time commentary while mid-gameplay. And yeah, that's it for me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, whatever time of the day is when you're watching this. And I hope to see you in the next thing I upload, which I will definitely have more Art of Rally, as I'm doing every single weekly that I can. Alright, I'll see you next time. Later.